Hello and welcome to StarCraft. My name's Pig and I'm here with yet another video helping you learn and improve at Versus Mode. Today we're going to be talking about the most important beginner mechanics for you as a new player to develop and start using so that you're not behind your opponents from the get-go. There's so much going on in the game of StarCraft, and all of these mechanics are going to help you keep up issuing commands, building large armies quickly and efficiently, and keeping up with your opponents. So let's go in game, and first of all, let's talk about the command card and why you should never click on it. You want to build some SCVs? You want to call down a supply drop? Don't click down here, use the hotkey. Queue up the units using your hotkey. It is always so important to make sure you're using these hotkeys so that you're using your mouse hand and your keyboard hand in tandem to give out those orders much quicker. Now we've got to talk about control groups. This is one of the most important things. It allows you to streamline everything you're doing in the game. First of all, let's hop in and talk about how to create a control group. If you want to create an army group, simply select some units and go Control 1. And we see number 1, that's my army group. They've all been created. If I want to grab an SCV or a random unit, add that in there, I just go Shift 1. And now, whenever I select group 1, that's in there as well. If you guys want a good example of a pretty standard accessible setup for a beginner, you can see my control groups laid out here, 1 through 0. And that's a good example of them. The most important thing you want to be using these for, though, is your production. Notice how I have all 3 of my main bases control grouped on number 3, and at any point I can simply select number 3 and tap my hotkey. So I don't need to go back to each base, click the command centers and build SCVs. Likewise, if I want to build army units, I can select my barracks hotkey and build marines across all my barracks, select my factories, build siege tanks and starports and build medevacs, all just by using a couple of presses on my keyboard. This speeds up everything you're doing so much, makes the game an absolute blissful experience to play because you can just produce these armies so fast and so easily. Next up, we need to talk about rally points. This is one of the most important ways to organize your units because it tells newly built units to move to a specific location, and in the case of miners, it even tells them to start mining right away. So make sure you're using this mechanic. If I want to set the rally point for where my units pop out, I can simply select my hotkey for my barracks or my factory or click on them, and you're going to notice there's this line running to where the rally point is. So normally you want your units to rally somewhere to the front of your base, and we can select that so those units are automatically going to go out there. Not only that, but even more importantly, with our SCVs, we want to make sure they are rallied to a new base. Notice these SCVs have been rallied just to the middle of nowhere. So we should always go to a base that is a bit empty or needs more workers and just right click. And that's going to tell these newly produced miners to just go to the minerals and immediately start mining. So as this base gets full of workers, we'll once again just select our command center hotkeys and say, ooh, let's grab our command centers and change the rally point over here now to a new base. And this allows our workers to automatically spread between the most efficient areas they can mine from, start gathering those resources without us having to constantly grab workers and shift them to a new base, which is a very time-consuming activity. So if you get in the habit of doing this at the right time, you don't need to spend a lot of time managing your workers, and your rally points can do all of the work for you. A beginner mechanics video wouldn't be complete without us talking about the number 1 thing you need to start doing from the very get-go, and that is using the attack move command. The attack move command gives your units permission to defend themselves. Without that, your units are just going to walk to their doom. So this is the problem most players have. They will issue a right-click command, not be watching, they'll be looking somewhere else, and their units are told, touch that point of ground at all costs. Walk right through the enemy if you must. And of course, this leads to a terrible scenario where sometimes people, if they're slow to react, their entire army gets obliterated. It's so nasty. So instead of that, guys, always make sure you give attack move commands. And to do that, it's just select your attack hotkey, which is A by default with standard keys, and then left click on the ground. So rather than just doing a lazy right click, get in the habit of going A left click, A left click. It gives your units the order to touch the point of ground. So it's the same as a move command, but if they encounter enemy on the way, they'll actually defend themselves. This makes such a huge difference. It saves you a lot of trauma after watching your army walk to its doom many times. Make sure you get this habit down as soon as you start playing the game. All right, guys, that about rounds us up for today's video. I hope these mechanics are going to get you guys started on the right footing in StarCraft, avoid a lot of silly mistakes or a lot of struggle just with the fundamentals of kind of building up an army and that sort of stuff. These habits really just make the game a smoother experience. You feel you have a lot more creative expression once you're able to control things smoothly like this. If you do want to explore more mechanics, more strategy, more understanding of the game, make sure you check out the entire Welcome to StarCraft playlist, and feel free to drop by my Twitch, x5_pig, or YouTube, Pig StarCraft. I'm doing daily content, bit of education, a bit of fun as well. That's all for now, guys. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and good night.